Before we jump into our discussion of market analytics, feedback, and control, let's do a little review of the background on marketing. Before we jump into our discussion of market analytics, feedback, and control, let's do a little review. First of all, marketing is the activities for creating offerings, communicating offerings, delivering offerings, and exchanging offerings. Remember, those offerings are goods, services, or ideas that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. The Midwest Higher Education Compact broke down marketing into 4 sub-competencies which we have reviewed. Market sensing, which involves environmental analysis and research in consumer behavior. Market interpretation, which involves segmentation, targeting, positioning, and marketing strategy. Market value creation, which deals with product management, price strategy, supply chain management, and integrated marketing communications. You can find video lessons on each of these competencies and sub-competencies. I'd like to finish up now with a review of market analytics, feedback, and control. Specifically, we'll mention marketing metrics and analytics and customer relationship management. The bottom line is that you can't just do market sensing, interpretation, and value creation without looking at what you hope to accomplish through each of these and how you're doing, and the changes you need to make to better serve your market. So let's look at a definition of market analytics, feedback, and control. That stage recognized that there's a correlation between marketing metrics, which we talked about when we talked about marketing strategy, and customer relationship management, and understanding the importance of both in providing feedback. So our marketing metrics and our relationships with our customers will provide feedback that identifies gaps in meeting the goals of the previous steps. In other words, what do we need to change or do differently with our market sensing, our market interpretation, and market value creation, so that we can meet our marketing metrics and better manage our relationships with our customers. So we break this section down into 2 sub-competencies, the one dealing with marketing metrics and analytics, and the one dealing with customer relationship management. Let's talk about each of these in greater detail. Marketing metrics and analytics talks about understanding the critical marketing metrics that enable an organization to quantify its performance and determine how effective its marketing programs are. Basically, you should be able to identify and explain the need for information in marketing metrics. You should be able to outline the process for selecting marketing metrics. You should be able to select appropriate marketing measures and outcomes. You should be able to analyze your results, identify gaps, and develop plans to close the gaps. You should be able to analyze customer performance and stakeholder performance dashboards. You should be able to analyze information from other applications and databases. And you should be able to develop a logistic model to predict the likelihood of customer conversion. In other words, how can you convert someone to a repeated customer? While these are all important for a Principles of Marketing course, the ones that are with a double star and in bold are the ones that we're going to cover here. So we're going to cover these kind of jointly. So one of the things you'll be doing in this class or in your project is to do a marketing simulation where you will compete Excuse me. One of the things that you'll do in this class is to complete a marketing simulation where you will compete with each other in designing and marketing a backpack. And in doing so, you'll be using a good number of marketing metrics and analytics. So let's take a look at those. One of the things you'll be able to do is to look at, after each of your decisions for each quarter or turn, as we're calling it, how are you doing? And how are you doing according to which metric? You could look at the metric of gross profit, or how many units you've sold, or what your net profit is, or your market share. Any of those would be acceptable marketing metrics that you could use to look at how well your market sensing, your market interpretation, and market value creation has allowed you to perform in the marketplace compared to your competitors. And are you achieving the marketing metrics you set for yourself in terms of gross profit, net profit, units sold, market share, etc.? Another key thing that you'll be looking at are what are called your key performance indicators compared to your competitors. What do your customers think about the features, the price, the promotional message that you're distributing, and also, looking at your profit, your market share, etc. So all of those will allow you to evaluate how you're doing versus the objectives or goals that you set for yourself. How will you do this? Well, one thing that you can do is you can see the different target markets that you'll be able to target. And once you complete your decisions, each target market will give you feedback. So this is a little bit of customer relationship management. What do your customers think about the products or services that you offer? You'll also be able to look at the sales of your product for each market segment. So again, those would be some metrics related to your target market. There will also be a place where you can check marketing metrics about your competitors. In other words, after each turn, what their statistics are in terms of the features of their different, how much they're selling, where they're promoting, etc. So these are examples of marketing metrics that will allow you to evaluate your performance and look at your performance against what your marketing objectives were in the beginning. Let's move on to the concept of customer relationship management. And here we need to understand the purpose and some of the strategies you may employ in order to show how customer relationship management will enable you to achieve your strategic goals and facilitate the evolution of your relationship with the customer. So we want to make sure that we understand, and we've already really covered these in different video lectures, the concepts of value proposition, all the product, the service, the distribution, the promotion, and how that weighs against the price of the product so that customers see their value, how satisfied they are, how loyal they are, understanding how you could define customer relationship management, the benefits and the cost of doing so, maybe even looking at customer satisfaction surveys to identify factors that shape customer satisfaction. And we can do that as part of your simulation when you see what the different target markets are saying about your product or service. Look at these, the value that you provide to these different target markets to reveal your company's strengths and weaknesses compared to your competitors. And maybe even think about planning a system for managing relationships to strengthen bonds with your customers. The bottom line is that marketing metrics and analytics and customer relationship management will allow you to get feedback to identify gaps in what you're doing in terms of market sensing, market interpretation, and market value creation, and how that is allowing you to achieve your marketing objectives.